This is Ben with bkashaaudio.com, and in this video I'm just going to be finishing up a beat that I've been working on for the past week. I have it in a pretty good place. It is mixed. All that's left to do is add a beat tag on and do a real quick mastering pass. So I'm going to play a section of the beat so you can hear it. This is all pre-mastered. In terms of the orchestration of it or the instruments that I used, you can see that I am using mostly samples and resample-matic for the drums, and for pretty much each of the individual other instruments are instances of Zin Fusion with some of the patches that are in there by default. So I'm just going to play back a section. Let's start it from here. Okay, so that's a section of the beat. What I'd like to do now is I'm going to put my beat tag over it. So I'll create a new track, press the insert key, and let's go ahead and locate the beat tag. And we're just going to pull that back to the beginning of the session, give the track a nice color, and lower the volume. So we should get this.
Kasha Beats.
Alright, and I'm just going to lay this out over the session, and this is simply so somebody can't rip the beat off the web and get it for free. So I'll just put it at the start of each section and kind of duplicate it. There we go. Let's get all of them. Okay, almost there. Just a couple more. All right, we can take these off the end. We don't need them. So I have my beat tag laid throughout the session. I do like to put a little ping pong delay on it so it sits better. So I'm going to pop that on there, play that back. There we go, we have our beat tag laid in. So I'm going to do my exports now. So I'm going to mute this tag, and first thing I want to do is export just the beat itself. So let's create a folder. I'm going to go in my music directory, and I'm going to go into my masters folder, and I'm going to make a directory. That's just the name of the song. So this is Planetary Core. So we're going to do make directory Planetary Core master, and we'll hop in that directory, and then we'll go to file render, and let's navigate there. Okay, so we've got music, masters, Planetary Core. So this is where we're going to dump all of our output files. So first I'm going to say Planetary Core pre-master. So this is going to be just the pre-master output. And I'm running my session at 48K, so we're going to do 48 kilohertz wave, 24-bit PCM. So we get the full dynamic range. We're going to output the entire project. And instead of hitting render right now, I'm just going to put it into the render queue so that we can render everything all at once at the end. So next I want to do the version with the beat tag. So I'm going to unmute the beat tag. Again, go to render. And I'm going to change the name for this one to tagged. Again, same thing, 48K wave, 24-bit. Add that to the render queue. And then finally, I want to output the stems, so all the individual stems of the mix. So to do that, I am going to mute the beat tag because I don't need that stem. Nobody wants that. And I'm going to select from kick over here. I don't want to select redrums because redrums is going to do all of the drums together as a track. So I'm going to select the individual kick, hold down shift, and then click reverse vocal, and you can see all my stems are highlighted. So from here I'll click file, render, and in this particular one what I'm going to do is select for the source, I'm going to do stems, all my selected tracks for the length of the entire project. For the file name, I'm going to clear out that field, go to wildcards, and select track. And this is automatically going to insert the name of the track in the stem. And then the sample rate, output format, and bit depth will remain the same. For the directory, I'm just going to have it output to a directory called stems. And then I'll add that to the render queue. Alright, so we have 3 different outputs set up. So now I'm going to go to File, go to my render queue, and we're going to select Render All. And the great thing about Reaper is once these are in the render queue, I hit Render All, it's automatically going to output all the file types. So I'll click that. You'll see it relaunches the session. And first we have our pre-master. So it's outputting that. You can see there's nothing on the master output, so there's plenty of headroom in the track. And that one's done, and now it's going to do the tagged version with the beat tag over the top. And this is a fast and real-time bounce. You can have it bounce in real time, but we're not laying back to tape, so it doesn't matter. And this is our multiple stems being bounced. So pretty straightforward to set up all of these export types. Alright, so everything has rendered out, and we can verify that. I'm just going to save this session, and we'll list out the contents of the directory, and you can see that we have our tagged, our pre-master, and all of our stems are in there. So the next step is we have to actually do the mastering on the track. So I'm going to close down Reaper, and for the track mastering I'm going to use Ardour. Now I could master it within Reaper, but I like the sound of the CAF audio plugins better, and they just run better in Ardour. If you use them in Reaper, they tend to lose the settings that you send in there. So I'm going to take one of my previous mastering sessions, open that up. This is for a different track. I'm going to skip all these missing files. So I'm going to take this track, I'm going to take this session, I'm going to remove these tracks, and I'm going to save it as something else. So let's see, we're going to go into our music, our master sessions. We're going to save it to this directory, and we'll just change the name of this to Planetary Core Mastering. We're not going to copy any media to that new session, and there we go. We have a new session. And just to make sure nothing else came over from the old one, we're going to clear everything out. Flush wastebasket. Had to do this first. So you got to do clean up, delete all unused, and then flush wastebasket. And it's already empty. So we're all set. No files were carried over from the other session. The reason I'm doing a save as is because I have the chain that I like to use for mastering here on the master channel. So you can see I've got the saturator, equalizer, compressor, and limiter. And that's the chain that I typically use for mastering the beats. So now I'll import in my session, so my audio file. So I'll go to import, music, masters, and we've got our two files here. So I'm going to select both of them. We're going to do one track per file. We are not going to copy them in. And let's import them. So I'm going to unmute the master track, and there should be nothing applied from the master chain. So that's unmastered, and I'm going to start adding in each element. So first I'm going to put in the saturator, and I'll switch that on and off so you can hear the difference. So we get a little bit of a volume boost and a little bit of saturation. There's two types. There's the tape and the tube saturation. I leave it in the middle for blend, add a moderate amount of it, and keep the processing set all the way to wet. So we get a little bit of a volume boost and a little bit of analog style saturation. Let me just move this further ahead in the track. There we go. Next, the equalizer. So I'm going to enable this, and I like to boost the high end around 6,000 hertz and the low end around the kick fundamental of about 61. And that gives it a little air in the top end and a little bit more thump in the low end. Now, let's look at the compressor. So I'm going to open that up, enable it. And I like to have the compressor just kind of take care of the peaks in the track. So I like to see the reduction, a light amount of compression. So the ratio is usually about 1.4, 1.5, and I like to see it reduce about 2 to 3 dB, just to kind of tie the mix together, glue it together, and keep it under control. So I'm going to alternate between bypass and on. Alright, and I'm actually going to move this back into a more active part of the song. So it's pretty subtle, but like I said, it just kind of glues it together and keeps the peaks under control. And then finally, we have the calf limiter. And I have this usually just bring everything up to about negative 0.3 dB. So let's see where we're at, and we'll adjust it as we listen. So I like to see the peaks just kind of touch the top of the limiter. So let's go back a little bit. All right, and the whole goal is for this to be competitive when you listen to it in relation to other material that you hear on Airbit or places like that. So I'm just going to disable everything and enable it again one by one so you can hear the difference. So we've got a big difference in volume. It's nice and loud and competitive. And all those same settings are going to be applied to the tagged version. So at this point, now that we have our mastering chain together, I'm going to export it. So we'll save what we did, go to export, export audio file, and let's navigate to our folder. And we're going to give it the proper naming. So we're going to say Planetary Core Mastered. And that's going to go to our directory, Redbook Audio CD Standard. It's going to down convert from 48 to 44.1. All right, now we're going to do the tagged version. So just unmute it. Same thing. We're going to go to export, and we'll name it appropriately. So after this one, I'm just going to put tagged so I can tell the difference. Okay, so once all the files are exported, I'm just going to save the session a final time. And if we go over to our master directory, you can see we have all of our outputs. We have the pre-masters, we have the mastered versions, and the last thing that I want to do is I want to make the MP3 versions of each track. So I like to use FFmpeg for this, the -i flag, and we're going to take our mastered version. So first we'll do just the regular mastered version, and we are going to convert that over to a MP3. So we're going to do mastered.mp3. And this is going to convert that at the command line using FFmpeg. And then I want to do the same thing, but instead this time we're going to do the tagged version. Tagged, whoops, tagged. And then at the end of this, we'll convert this to tagged as well. Take that out there. Oops. There we go. And convert that. So now if we look at our output, we have the MP3 version, the mastered wave versions, and the pre-master versions, as well as all the stems and the original mastering session. And that's the basic workflow that I use for mastering all my beats and music in Linux. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, if you'd like to buy the beat that you just heard, you can go to my website, bkashaaudio.com, click on Buy Beats, and purchase it from the Airbit store embedded here. I also have some t-shirts that you can check out, one of them being this cool speaker design that I made using Inkscape. So if you're interested, the links for all those things will be down below in the video description.